Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Invictus Racing League No Assist Championship. It's round 5. We're here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and it is going to be a fantastic night of racing here at the No Assist League. And I am joined, as always, by Sam. Good evening, Sam.
Good evening. We're back once again, aren't we? It's going to be another fantastic race. As we found out last week, Scott came back and put his car back where he firmly believes it belongs, in that first place, and takes the lead of the championship, doesn't he? So he'll be looking, especially tonight, if he can take that form into tonight's race and pick up another race win, or even get a podium to help secure that top of the championship. Should be a good race tonight. Brazil always seems to bring good races, especially in Invictus. So I'm really looking forward to what these guys can do tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be another cracker, and it's a lap time that it's kind of a shades around that 70-second mark. So apart from Austria, I believe it's the quickest one on the calendar. So these guys really will be working that throttle pedal tonight. And but it is a track that it can be particularly tricky to overtake on. There are places that you can get moved on, but I think you'll see a lot of brave overtakes, or at least attempted overtakes tonight, because you don't want to get caught behind drivers in front. And equally, there is potential for weather to come around. We know that Interlagos, of course, down in Brazil, is famed for its changeable conditions. So it's not out of the question that we see a little bit of rain mixing up the race session tonight.
No, definitely not. When it normally rains in Brazil, it really does turn it on, doesn't it? Would be interested to see if we do get it. Like you were talking about, we have some good chances of overtaking, especially going into turn one through the center S, and then you've got the long straight DRS there. There is potential for overtaking, but that twisty second sector, it can be tricky, and if you run wide or anything, there is opportunities to dive a car down the inside if you're close to a car in front. But should have some good overtaking, good racing tonight. It's always, like I said, it's always one of those tracks, isn't it, Brazil, that gives us good racing, good close racing. So hopefully, like the season's begun already with what we've had from these guys, we can have another good race tonight.
Yeah, hoping so. It should be a good one, like you can see on screen at the moment, guys. If you're watching the stream, you've got the likes of Boy Better Know, Scopefield, or White Fountain, same with the Pito. All the big hitters are here, so there's definitely that mixture ready for another superb race here, the No Assist Championship. And just looking over the stats of the track, you've got the likes of the length. You've got 4.3 kilometers, just over 2.6 miles, featuring the one of the longest pit lanes in F1, and quite a tricky pit lane, because it's not your standard one that just feeds back out onto the circuit. You end up missing quite a bit of the track, and you come out after the exit of the center S's down towards turn 3, and very tricky, because you have to get on that power. Obviously you want to be on the power as soon as you come out of that limiter, but it's one of those ones that you can find guys just making a slight mistake, and possibly picking up silly wing damage. We've seen that here in the past.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely one of those that you just got to be careful what you're doing, haven't you? Because you get caught out. You can easily get caught out, like you say, the wing damage, and around here with wing damage can prove very tricky through those middle sectors of the track. So you definitely don't want that, especially fast bits as well. You can soon start getting caught up quite quickly if you're running with the orange, or the red wing of death, as people like to call it. So yeah, you've just got to try and keep a level head, haven't you, with this, and just don't do any silly mistakes. Keep it all relative to the track, and keep it all relative to what you know, and you should be all right. Like you say, you talk about the pit lane, and I've found myself in the past with the Victors. I've caught myself out doing speeding in the pit line, because it can be so tricky to get the braking right, as it's slightly uphill, isn't it, as well? It's quite tricky to get the braking right here, and if you get caught out, it can really ruin your race with that 5 second penalty. So yeah, you've just got to keep an eye on those little things, and you should, relatively speaking, have a good race, as long as you don't try and run wide through certain sectors to pick up silly penalties like that. It can catch you out this track. But if you if you keep your head, you should go around well here, and it'll give you give you a good momentum, won't it? Especially in qualifying, you can get good momentum around here if you really nail a lap.
Yeah, and it's one of those circuits that you like to do well at. Of course, one of the more iconic circuits on the F1 Canada. We've seen
Yes.
some incredible moments here in the past. Of course, the famous Ayrton Senna win where he had to be removed from the cockpit of the car. So it's definitely one of the tracks on the calendar that the drivers look at. And it would be a shame that there was talk about moving it to Rio to lose Interlagos
Yeah.
off of the calendar. So hopefully we do keep it. But it's a particularly tricky circuit, especially for these guys running no assist tonight, because there are a lot of inclines, declines. A lot of the corners are off camber, which can upset the rear end and the balance of the car. So it's not a particularly straightforward circuit.
No, it isn't. Like you say, I'd be really disappointed if this track is off the calendar. We've had so many iconic moments in F1 history, haven't we, with this circuit? With the Glock incident with Hamilton in 2008, and you're thinking Lewis or Fernando for the title in 2007, and Kimi stealing it. That track, it's a tricky track. It's an iconic track. It's everything what we love about F1, isn't it? And I personally hope it stays on the calendar. And just for us, our sake, playing this game, so we can still carry on racing around here because it is such a fun, challenging track to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. Full throttle, 62% of the distance around the track length, averaging around 42 gear changes per lap. It's a medium to high downforce circuit, so depending on how these guys want to drive, of course, you do have a very tight and twisty second sector from the exit of turn 4 all the way up till turn 12 at Junção, and you really power up the hill towards the DRS zone that takes you down towards turn 1. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what these guys set the cars up like tonight. And just on board, and we've just got into qualifying now, and it looks like blue skies with a little bit of cloud in the air, but it looks like good conditions for qualifying. And so yeah, we will see how everyone gets on. Just checking. Did we lose anyone from the session? No, hopefully not. Just double checking. But yeah, it's one of those ones I tend to enjoy racing around here, and although it is hard to find those overtakes, it can be a really exciting race, and it's definitely a challenge. It's one of those ones that you've got to really pay attention to, because like we were saying just a minute ago, with so many undulations in the circuit and so many off camber corners, that going side by side with other guys around here can be particularly tricky, because it's not a particularly flat circuit even when you're on the black stuff. It really, there are
No.
some bumps that can catch you out. And I mean, we can go back to IRL, and of course you saw Mark Webber's crash in 2003 in the Jaguar that then caught out Alonso, and it's just hitting that bump, especially at the top of turn 14 just before the DRS in the main straight. It's one of those ones that can really catch you out.
It is, and like we say, it's old school, isn't it? This track, it's not like your Abu Dhabis and stuff where it's pristine, smooth. It's got its bumps, it's got its curves, it bends, and everything else. It's got everything to really challenge a driver. We've just got a few cars heading out onto track now. Sam is the first car out on track. He's out on the soft tyre with FPL Charlie in the Mercedes on the medium tyre. MJ Coop also out on the medium tyre, and Humberstone, he's also out on the red soft tyre. So several cars coming out now on reds and, well, softs and mediums, I should say.
Yeah, good evening to everyone watching the stream tonight, and thanks for jumping into the comments. We'll be happy to get engaged with you. Looks like we've got a Scott fan, so we will be on board with Boyben OSB at some point. And as Mini Scotty25 says, we love you, Scott, and he is definitely one of the big members of the community, and well appreciated around here. Of course, reigning champion here in the No Assist League, and equally good evening, Mike. Good to have you watching, mate. And Samuel Pito, the Spaniard, starting his first flying lap. He goes down the Senna S's, that streaked helmet of his on the Haas, as the DRS flap comes wide open down towards turn 4. Heavy braking zone here, got to get it right. It's very easy to run out wide there and invalidate your lap very early, but it looks like he's taken it nicely. Got a yellow in sector 2 and sector 3. Could just be slow drivers at the moment just on their outlap. Sam having to get off the power there ever so slightly as he got in towards turn 8 and down into turn 9. And these corners seem to go on forever. You just really have to scrub that pace off and get the braking points just right, especially here down in turn 10. Almost hairpin like. Now run it down the hill off camber, like I said, very tricky corner if you are running no assist, and Sam running out onto the curbing very nicely. Now it's a big drag up the hill, and back in the early or mid 2000s we had Kurz and give you that extra energy boost, but I'm sure Sam will have it whacked up into full overtake and hot lap mode as he comes across the line on the soft tyre. What does Sam done? He starts with a 108.2, so well under 70 seconds for Sammy the Pito.
Yeah, you'd imagine he would be going a lot quicker tonight as FPL Charlie on the medium tyre does a 109.2, so pretty much a second slower than Sam. But Sam's, I think, definitely, would you say he's Mr. Consistent this season so far? He's definitely the most consistent guy in the league this season, always on that podium places at the end. You definitely want to keep an eye on him tonight. I'd also like to say I think it's a big night tonight for White Fountain as he's just heading out now on the hard tyres. He had a tough race last time, didn't he? He's had a good start to the season, but last race was a tough race for him, so he'll be wanting to rectify that and get back to the very front fighting with the likes of Scott, Sam and Schofield tonight. So it'd be interesting to see how White Fountain does tonight.
Absolutely. White Fountain, of course, race winner in Monaco, absolutely dominated the race there around the Principality as Beck 9000 goes up onto the provisional front row. 108.6 for him. Good lap for the Toro Rosso driver who, in the pre-race interviews that we caught up with him over the weekend, he just said he just needs a little bit of luck on his side, and he's just not had the rub of the green at the start of the season. It's not quite gone his way, and hopefully for Beck, we'll be able to put in a decent result tonight. And with only 12 drivers on the field, of course we've got several drivers away. Unfortunately it is that time of year where people decide to go off on holiday and enjoy themselves as opposed to sitting and playing on the game. But yeah, 12 drivers on the grid tonight, so plenty of opportunity for points, and Beck is definitely going to be one of those drivers that will be looking for it. So that's a good start for him. FPL Charlie, like you said, on the mediums, it's not bad time there, 109. But yeah, White Fountain out on the hards, and well, as I say that, he's just about held on to it, and almost was a 45-degree angle coming around the first corner there, so possibly a little bit too hot into the first corner for White Fountain. He's going to continue with the lap, but he's going to have lost a considerable amount of time as we've got the likes of Humbo Stones up into 5th position, Meg in 6th, and White Fountain all over the place in the start of this lap, really not enjoying those tyres and possibly hasn't quite got those hards up to temperature yet, and it's one of those things, just really a balancing act, because as soon as you lose that tyre temperature, and whether it goes either too cold or too hot, they just become incredibly unstable, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I assume he's just going out there just to get a feel for the track on those hards. It'd be some achievement if you can get that hard tyre right up there in the money-making positions. I was just about to say, but he's beat me to it. Scott wasn't out. He's just come out now for his outlap on the softs. But what's surprising me more is Sam's teammate Schofield is still sat in the pit lane at the minute. So no sign of Schofield, which is surprising to say, because everybody at the minute has had a good run out on the track at the moment. So as White Fountain does come back in the pits on those hards, he clearly doesn't like those and probably would jump onto maybe a soft or medium for him. But yes, surprising at the minute that see Schofield is still sat in the pit lane.
Yeah, Schofield, of course, winner in France, second place last week in Japan, and brought him back into contention in the championship after two slightly off the boil starts to the season for him. 6 points in Austria and only 2 points in Monaco, so not how he wanted to start the season, but a Swede back up to speed now, and we're just on board here with Speed Queen 80, of course, 3-time champion here at Invictus. Hasn't, much like we've seen from a lot of the others, not quite had the season that she was looking for so far, but she's usually one of the more consistent drivers, and we've seen her in the past, equally here in Brazil, have good races. So I'm expecting some better results from Speed Queen tonight. Of course, that, as always, yellow and pink helmet you see from her. She's now coming up to the final two corners that run right up the hill from Young Cow at turn 12, all the way up, top speed up through the kink at turn 14. Now off camber, you usually see sparks flying here if the cars are low enough. It looks like Speedway must be running quite a high or quite a medium to low downforce setup there, because there was no floor scraping there. But she's up onto the second row of the grid, and once again it's alongside CPI Alex, as the two Ferraris seem to have been joined by the hip to the majority of this season.
Definitely, as Boy Better Know Scott, he's now coming round to complete his first flying lap. What can he do in his Mercedes? He's just crossing the line now, and he's jumped up to P5, a 108.8. So he's definitely going to be going quicker than that. So at the minute, Sam's first time of a 108.2 seems pretty good, doesn't it? Nobody at the minute has got that close to his lap as Sam crosses the line and does a 108 flat, a 108.046, so it's just improved even more. He's a good 6 tenths faster than Beck 9000 now. Another good strong lap there from Sam.
Yeah, the Spaniard in the Haas doing well. It's a flat, it's 6 tenths faster than anyone else, so it's a great lap there from Sam, and he'll be looking for a win so far this season, and or just, well, to before the halfway stage. I said it. So we're of course 5 rounds in already, and if this season is flying past us. Meg Lugpeach, great lap there up onto the front row of the grid, of 108.4 at the moment, and with 9 minutes left in the session, the track is definitely starting to rubber in. It was very green to start with. We saw a lot of guys struggling with a little bit of oversteer, and White Fountain retiring from the session. He joins MJ Coop in the paddock early, who decided to bail out of that one, and those two likely will be starting outside the top 10, which will give them a little bit of a choice in strategy, depending on if we see Scopefielder and Andrew Lockdock out on track. And Andrew Lockdock is on his lap now, so we will go on board with him. He's into the second sector now, coming up the hill through turn 5 into turn 6 and 7, almost in succession, down heavy braking zone into turn 8, and now running into the long Perigno at turn 9 and running up towards turn 10. Like I said, that almost hairpin like turn gets it turned in nicely there for Andrew Lockdock, so we'll see if he continues with it. Once again down the hill, and you continuously feel like you're on a roller coaster riding around this track. It locks up that front left ever so slightly into Young Cow at turn 12, but it's going to be a run up the hill. We're at 1 minute he's going to be coming across the line, so it looks like it's going to be a relatively competitive. No, he bails out, so looked like it was on for a relatively competitive time there for Andrew Lockdock, but possibly a invalidation halfway round. We're now sitting with CPI Alex. He's in 4th position at the moment on the we'll see in a minute, and he equally bails out. He was on the medium tyres. He's just ahead of teammate, and then you've got the two Mercs just behind him, so Scott and Charlie split by just over 4 tenths of a second.
Yeah, CPI Alex there, he was about half a second down on his fastest lap, so I presume that's the reason why he ended up bailing out. But work to be done, don't you think, for the Mercedes guys at the minute? They definitely don't want to be in 6th and 7th. They would much rather be further up the field. You mentioned Meg earlier. Meg put in a super lap to be on the front row with Sam at the minute. It'd be good to see Meg do well tonight. He's had a tricky season, hasn't he, Meg? Be good to see if he can get it together tonight and have no issues and get a good race under his belt, because I think he deserves one.
Well, absolutely, and we've just had a big crash from Humbo staying there, just coming around turn 4, just lost it on the exit to turn 5. The back end just got away from him, and he's gone straight into the barriers. That's the front left tyre that's now missing, held on only by the tethers, and that is the end to Humbostone session. And I believe, as White Fountain said, that he equally had the same accident there just a few laps ago. So what I thought was White Fountain retiring in the pit lane, a catch on board with Charlie, and Charlie's now pointing in the wrong direction. So a little bit of a curse of the commentator at the moment. We sit on board with someone and they seem to be pointing in the wrong direction. So I'm worried about going on board with Speed Queen or Beck, who seem to be on track at the moment. So yeah, Charlie there suffering. Speed Queen, she's coming down. She's just left the centre S's. We'll see if we can actually get a clean run through these two corners here from the driver. There we go, Speed Queen much better there through turn 4 and into turn 5 up the hill. And MJ Coop says he lost the car on the exit, the centre S's. So as we were saying pre-race, it's proving to be a very tricky circuit.
It really is, and Scopefielder, he came out lap on these soft tyres and just did not like. I don't know if Charlie distracted him somewhat, and he had to get off the power, but he came straight back into the pit. So Schofield is still yet to set a time. He's down in 11th place. So yes, we've still got time left, just over 5 minutes left. But the pressure will be mounting on Schofield to put in a good lap here and get himself right up there with his teammate Sam.
Yeah, looks like he's going to go for one lap at the end as Sam Speed Queen up into second, as she does a 1:08.3. So good lap there from the Ferrari driver, and that's much more where she expects to be and was hoping to be. Up onto the provisional front row, knocks down Meg and Beck 9000 onto third and fourth. So that's a good lap from Speed Queen, and with 4 minutes left in the session, she's still got time to set one more lap if she so wishes. Just on board here with Meg, he's kind of come across the line. Can he improve? He looks like he's going a little bit quicker. He does. Yes. He's back up into second position, a 1:08.2 for Meg. So the Red Bull driver will be delighted with that one. Puts himself back up onto the front row, and but it's still over 2/10 away from Sam. Sam really enjoying this race, this qualifying session, and this track, obviously.
Yeah, he really is. He's nailed it early on, and he's set down the gauntlet for the rest to try and beat him. And so far, Meg, who's just gone a bit quicker, nobody's really got that close. I was on board with him as well. Then he did a solid lap there. Meg will be very happy with that. But it's also good, like you say, to see Speed Queen right up there. That's what we like to see. The three-time champion. We know what she can do. It'd be great to see if she's fighting at the front tonight. There's Schofield, by the way. I mentioned him. He's now out on the medium tyre, so he's looking like he's going on a different strategy to his teammate. It'd be interesting to see what he can do on those medium tyres, whether he can get himself up amongst, say, between fourth and fifth on those medium tyres. It'd really put the cat amongst the pigeons if he could do that. He's just starting his flying lap now on those medium tyres.
Yeah, strategy cool there from the Haas team, deciding to split compared to what Sam's going to be started on, and equally he's got 3 cars ahead of him that won't be out on circuit, so this is a good opportunity for Schofield to get himself inside the top 10 and then be starting on a differing strategy to everyone else. But he's got 3 minutes left to either nail this lap or possibly, if he does invalidate this one, he's going to have time to come in very, very quickly and have a quick stop and back out on another set of tyres. So we'll see if Schofield sticks with this one and what he can do. Of course, that yellow and blue helmet emblazoned at the top of that Haas, as we always see from him, and we'll see what he can do at the exit of this corner. Here will be the second split, the end of the second sector, and it's going to be a 52 flat, so it's a good second sector for Scope. We'll see if he sticks with it. Coming up the hill on the exit, Young Cow 12, 13 and turn 14 all in quick succession. Does he stick with it? He does. He's going to come across the line, so can he get himself up into the top 10? Schofielder up on 5th. Great lap there from the
Good
Swede.
lap. Yeah, good lap. I was thinking if he could get himself 4th, 5th or 6th, that's really going to make the guys ahead of him on those soft tyres think, because if he can stick with those guys early on in the race, he'll obviously be able to go longer, and the strategy then could play in his hands then come race. Scott, by the way, just further down in 7th place now. He's just coming round to finish his next flying lap. It's be interesting to see what he can do. He's just heading towards the finish line now. He's going to get across the line. What is he going to be able to do? He does not improve. Oh, he does improve slightly. He's done a 1:08.7, but he does stay in 7th place.
Yeah, he just got a slight wiggle on coming out of Young Cow at turn 12. Really got on that power early, and the back end just didn't want to be planted whatsoever, and it was moving side to side. He was just about holding on to control of it, and unfortunately it probably lost him about a 10th, maybe 2/10, and that's keeping him in 7th. And it's something we've seen from Scott this season. He's not been particularly strong in qualifying, which is a real contrast to what we saw last season when he won the championship. And equally, Charlie, we were expecting these two to be really impressive after what we saw in pre-season. And Scott, he's definitely he can move forward in the races. We've seen that. But both the Mercedes boys, they've really got to work on their qualifying in the second half of the season.
Yeah, they definitely have. It's they would much rather be at the front of the grid, not having to make all these moves early on in the race. But we know Scott can do it, and Charlie is just having. Oh, Scott has spun out on track. I'm not sure what happened there, but he's in the grass at the moment, so that's not good for him. I think that's just ahead of his teammate is his teammate's just gone through now. So FPL Char on the outlap, but FPL Char thinks he's just struggled, hasn't he? Pre-season looked good, and this season it's just not quite worked for him. He's had a few issues here and there. He's pulled off some great moves as we've seen, especially in France and Monaco, where you could argue he was the best driver for overtakes this season. It's just not quite happened for the rest of the race for him. So he'll be looking tonight to pull in a decent race for himself and his team Mercedes to try and score as many points as possible, as he's just starting his next flying lap now, and he'll be wanting to definitely improve on that 109.2.
Time expires on the session, and that is it from everyone, unless you have come across the line before that checkered fly came out. And Meg Lugby, he did improve ever so slightly, but not quick enough to challenge Sam, who's out on his own, and he is coming around the final corner. Is he going to go any quicker? Looks like he's backed out of it. No, he is sticking with it. Can he improve on the pole time? He's at 108 flat at the moment. He doesn't improve. He's sticking with that. So the only person out on track that I can see is FPL Charlie, who's only going a tenth of a second faster, which would only put him, or keep him in 8th position at the moment. So unless he can have an absolutely mighty and possibly strap a rocket to the rear end of that Mercedes at this final corner, it would be impressive to see him come across the line and take pole. But he does move up into 4th, so it's a good launch out that final corner for Charlie. Up onto the second row grid, he splits the Ferraris.
Yeah, that was a good lap in the end for Charlie. He's beating his teammate, and I think he'd be quietly pleased with that. There's opportunities there, isn't there, to score well tonight and even pick up a podium. I think he just needs to have a quiet race and an incident-free race, and we could see a fast Mercedes tonight challenging. But congratulations to Sam. He took pole position early on and never looked in doubt of losing it. Meg got close, but not quite close enough. Superb lap from him, and it's going to be interesting to see how these guys get on.
Yeah, comfortable pole position for the Spaniard Samuel Pito, and he'll be delighted with that one. And, we are seeing the results there, and it's a 108.046 for Sam in the Haas. Second great lap there from Meg Lugby in the Red Bull. He does a 108.226, just under 2/10 of a second slower. Speed Queen and FPL Charlie make up row 2 with CPI Alex and Beck 9000. Good qualifying there from Beck in 6th. Scopefielder on the medium tyres will start in 7th alongside Scott, so that rivalry will be re-engaged, and that'll be an interesting one to see off the line. Humberstone is in 9th with MJ Coupe starting on the medium tyres. Unfortunately, could not get overtaken by Agile Lockdock, who didn't set a time in the end, so Coupe starting on much older tyres, and he's going to be in 10th with White Fountain and Agile Lockdock starting outside of the top 10 on their own fresh tyres. So great lap there from Sam at the start of the session. Just really unbeatable. No one got close to it.
No, definitely not. And I'd just like to say as well, it's good, isn't it, to see Speed Queen right up there in 3rd place. If she can have the sort of race we've seen from her in the past, there's opportunities there, I think, for her to challenge for the race win tonight. But you've got to go with Sam. I think he's, like I said earlier, he's Mr. Consistent, isn't he? He knows how to pick up the good points, and being on pole position tonight, if you can get a good start and try and pull away early on, he's definitely one of the favourites for the race win tonight. I've probably just put the curse on him saying that, because I've done that many times already this season, but Sam's looking very good in 1st place there.
Yeah, and looks like the weather at the moment is holding. We've got a little bit of blue sky poking through the clouds as we didn't qualify, so it's going to be an easier start to the race for these guys, and hopefully that weather stays as it is, and we don't see any rain, although the rain might mix it up ever so slightly. I'm sure those guys on the grid will disagree with me. And good evening to everyone watching. Great to have a big following this evening. Great to see you all watching. Hope you're enjoying it. Let us know if you want to see anything, talk about anything. More than happy to get engaged with you. And if you are new to us, we are Invictus Racing League. This is the No Assist Championship, our 5th round of 12, and is Monday nights here at 8 p.m. for the No Assist Championship. Then, of course, Tuesday nights we have our Realistic Performance League. Wednesday nights are equal performance leagues. We have F1, F2 and F3, 3 leagues there of equal performance. On Thursdays you've got the F1 podcast with Sab and I, or equally you can go to the GT Sport League, which is equally run on twitch.tv, and you can find out more about all of those leagues on our website, invictusracingleague.com, where, of course, you can get yourself on the grid if you'd like to join. And, yeah, more than happy to see more members part of the community. We hope you enjoy the race tonight. Sab and I will be bringing you lap-by-lap commentary for the entire distance, as we do every week here on Monday night. So looking forward to it as we've got the guys just readying up for the formation lap now, and it's that nerves building, really, isn't it, as they run down to turn one. Very easy here to kind of just the inside line. So for Meg Lugby and Charlie, it's a very inviting inside line here, isn't it? Just to send it down the inside,
Yes.
and just possibly put the likes of Sammy the Pit or Speed Queen off.
Yeah, definitely. And if you break a bit too late and lock a wheel up, suddenly you could be sitting alongside one of the guys you're running up the inside of, and a potential race ruiner then if you smash up your front wing. So, like you say, it can be very inviting being on the inside. Hopefully none of that happens tonight, and we do get a clean runaway and get to see some proper overtaking, and not down to any instances. Sam now leads them through the second sector. It's going to be Meg Luppy not far behind with Speaker in FPL Charlie. I think he's one to watch. I think, like I mentioned earlier, he's good at those brave overtakes, brave moves when he needs to, and if he sniffs an opportunity, I cannot see him saying no to it twice. I think he'll definitely give it a good go. Speed Queen will definitely have to keep her eyes on him as the first few laps, because he'll be definitely wanting to push forward for those podium positions. So plenty of moves to be made. You've got White Fountain down in P11. He's obviously going to want to be pushing forward. He's starting on the hard tyres, so he'll be going long tonight. And you've also got Scott. He's definitely going to be wanting, as we've got Adji Lockdock at the very back spinning towards the very end of the lap, and he's gone off into the grass, so definitely does not want to be doing that. He was trying to warm his tyres up, and he's ended up on the grass. He's lagging behind White Fountain a little bit now, but he'll be definitely catching him up very shortly and be able to get underway very soon. So yeah, it's there's going to be a lot of interesting battles throughout the field, as we mentioned briefly as well. Scopefield and those medium tyres, so plenty of interesting strategies and battles ahead shortly.
Absolutely, as the cars line up on the grid. Adalockdock, final one into his grid slot. You can see the heat haze going down the track looking very warm. We've got the lights on right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all in quick succession. Pause, and they're off, and it's away. Looks like a great start there from Sam Lipito off of the line. He's going to get the run down into turn one. Who makes a move into the first few corners? It looks like we've got the Ferraris going through, almost 3 wide there between the Ferrari, the Haas, and the Mercedes. But it's Speak when she's having to bail out of it. She realised that she was going to get pinched on the inside of the Senna S's, but it's a great start from Sam. He maintains the lead. Meg in second. There you go. Scopefielder is up into 5th. Great start there from Scope on the medium tyres. That's exactly what he wanted to do. Boy Benano, he's equally jumped up 2 positions. Great start there from Scott. You've got Beck 9000, unfortunately dropping down 7th. MJ Coop, good start for him. He's up into 8th position from 10th. It's a poor start from Speed Queen. She tried to go around the outside into the first 2 corners, just got squeezed off the track, and probably the right idea from her. She decided to back out of it, and she's fallen right down the back of the order. So we'll check in with her shortly and see if she's got any wing damage. But at the moment, it's a great start from leader Sammy the Pito. 1.1 seconds he leads from over the first lap so far. He's managed to get a great getaway. CPI Alex up 2 positions into 3rd position from 5th. FPL Charlie maintains position, and they come across the line for the first time. The time should be updating very, very soon. There you go. And yeah, it's a great start from Sam. As we look down and see, can we find out if anyone's losing any time? No, Speed Queen, she's 6.6 seconds behind the field, as we've got FPL Charlie looking to the rear end of Alex, going down into turn 4. Doesn't quite get it done this time, but he's going to have a much better run. Almost contact between the two, and the Mercedes nose to tail heading up towards the second sector.
Yeah, it was a strange one with Speed Queen, because she went off track getting squeezed out, but then she just stopped on track and didn't move for a good couple of seconds, and then decided to go again. I don't know if she had some sort of issue with her wheel or what have you, but she did get going again, and like you say, she's now well off the pace And unfortunately for her, because I was really rooting for her, I was hoping she was going to have a good race in that. But I'm just keeping an eye on FPL Charlie. He's all over the back of CPI Alex at the minute. He's really hounding that last Ferrari up there as they now head back round to start-finish straight against FPL Charlie. Really on the back of that gearbox. Can he get a move done? He's going to have a good look, but CPI Alex defends very well, and into the centre. CPI Alex keeps third place for now.
Oh, there's a fantastic battle going on behind between Scopefielder and Scott, and Scope just showed Scott the inside there, but Scope shutting the door firmly on the exit of turn 1 there and trying to make Scott go on the outside. He didn't quite want to risk it just yet, and Scott of course will have the advantage early in the race, being on the fresher or being on the softer rubber I should say, and they're bringing Beck 9000 along, so he's not out of it just yet. But Scott's just going to be a bit patient here because he's got the advantage over Scope, but he's gonna, of course Scope is going to make that Haas 3 cars wide, so Scott's going to have to really pick his position if he is going to get past. And you can see teammate ahead Charlie fighting with Alex, so both the Mercs looking pretty racy early in the session, but that 1.1 second lead for Samuel Pitto has now been split down to half a second. So Meg, he set the fastest lap last time around, he started to cruise up to the rear end of Sam, and DRS will be enabled at the end of this lap, so this is going to be interesting. Meg versus Sam, you've got one of the multi-time winner here in the No Assist Championship going up against a relative rookie, and we've got Charlie going down the inside of Alex. He gets the move done. Equally Scott, there was a little bit of a banging of wheels, it looked like we saw in the background there, but once again Scope shutting the door on Scott, so Scott's frustration will be rising. And equally Beck looking very racy behind the turn. He's quite happy just to sit there and let these two battle out. Scott getting very comfortable with the rear end of Scopefielder there, and possibly pushing a little bit too hard as they're going to go side by side up the hill. There's not much overtaking room there. You've got to really pick the right position to outbrake someone up there, as he picks up a 3-second time penalty already. So Scott pushing very, very hard already, hits that limit of 3 warnings on lap 4. So that's a real setback for him.
It is, and it just shows the desperation, you would say, for him to get past Scopefielder. You can see Scopefielder is now tailing off from the back of CPI Alex. He'll be wanting to get past this Haas as soon as possible, but it's not going to be easy for Scott because he's got Beck 9000 all over the back of him now, and Scott's going to have to look behind him rather than ahead of him for a second here, as Beck 9000 is looking to get a move done on Scott. Can he get a move done? He's going down the inside. Beck 9000 gets the move done on the reigning champion. Superb move in that Toro Rosso, and Beck 9000 now jumps up to 6th. That's only going to infuriate Scott some more, but Scott's going to try and come back at him now as Beck 9000 is defending hard. Can he keep Scott behind him? He does. So at the moment, a lot of frustration for Scott out on track.
Yeah, great view there from the rear end of Beck 9000 as we saw the almost Hornet-like Boy Better Know swarming around the gearbox of that Toro Rosso on the second DRS straight. Couldn't do anything about it. Beck equally had DRS on Scopefielder as Coop picks up a 3-second one there, so he's down in 11th position. So Coop struggling towards the back as Speed Queen's caught up to the back end of him, so it looks like Speed Queen's starting to get back up to speed. She's recovered a lot of ground, of course, was dropped right to the back end of the field, dropped 9 positions on the first corner. Scott really struggling out of Young Cal at turn 12 tonight, and he's once again he's back down behind Beck, but look at that swarming around the back end. He's going to pull to the outside. He's going to have to swing around the outside. That's going to be a brave move. He cuts right in front of the Toro Rosso. Great move there from Scott in the Mercedes, but he's going to once again have Beck all over the back of him down towards the second DRS zone. So this is a nice little battle between the two, and this is what we were talking about with Beck earlier. He just needed that little bit of luck, a little bit of fortuitous nature on his side in the racing, and he's proving that he can go toe-to-toe with some of the best.
Yeah, he definitely is, and what this is doing, this is helping Scopefielder just pull a little bit of a gap out, isn't it? It's now up to 1.8 seconds for Scott from Scopefielder, which will give Scopefielder a bit of breathing space, won't it, on those medium tyres, because he'll want to go as long as possible as he can into this race. He won't want to be pushing those tyres as hard as possible, but he's now cruising up to the back of the battle for third place, and at the minute FPL Charlie only 9 tenths behind Meg Lupin, then you've got CP Alex only 7 tenths behind behind with Schofield only half a second. So there's a real battle starting to happen here at the front of the grid. It's good to see Meg. He's not too far off Sam at the minute, 1.5 seconds. He's just about keeping hold of Sam, so keeping him honest, and if he can stay there for now, he could find himself looking good towards the end of the race, Meg.
As Beck once again trades positions with Scott, retakes 6th position, and we'll see when DRS is regained once again, just as across this line, and it's going to be Scott who's going to be trying to crawl up to the rear end of the top. Not quite close enough to get the move done this time, but just looking further up the grid, you've got a nice little battle starting to form here. And just FPL Charlie, he's got CPI Alex and Scopefielder. And as Mike says, and Scopefielder, he's keeping up very nicely, 5th position, but he's on the harder tyres, he's on those mediums.
Yeah, definitely is, and he's looking very strong for this race now, isn't he? He's really up on the back end of that Ferrari now. Can he get close and get a move on Alex and really upset those soft running tyre guys? As FPL Charlie now is less than a second behind Meg, so I'm thinking he should have DRS now to try and pull him even closer. So Charlie on a bit of a charge here, and he's going to want to try and take that second place from Meg.
Yep, the top 5 split by just around 4.5 seconds, so it's looking particularly close between these guys, and Beck is starting to pull away from Scott ever so slightly. He's almost bridged that 1 second gap that will close that DRS assistance for Scott, so he's not leaving the back end. You can see almost the entire top 7 in one shot there as they came down the second straight from turn 3 to turn 4. Scopefielder, he's staying with these lot. Alex up in 4th position. He's starting to look pretty racy behind Charlie, and it's one of those tracks, it can burn your battery pretty quickly around here, so you'll find these guys harvesting as and when they can, and around this second sector you can see that red light flashing there, those guys harvesting energy and really trying to save it up for the main straight, because that's where the main overtaking position are. And yeah, you've got Alex half a second behind Charlie, and then equally he's got Scopefielder just about the same gap behind him, so the pace at the moment will be a little bit neutralised because, of course, people around you have got DRS, so it's very hard to catch up. But what it will do, really, it's kind of assisting Scopefielder there, because he's sitting in the draft around 3 cars ahead of him with DRS, so it is really pulling him up towards this front end of the battle.
Yeah, it is, and just slightly behind. Oh, there's a big snap there in the S section, center S section for Scott. Scott is all over the back of Beck 9000 again. He was just over a second behind. He's pulled it right back. He's going to... No, he thought he was going to have a little dive down there in the second DRS section. But Scott again, back for battle number 3 or 4 with Beck 9000 now. These two having a good old ding-dong battle, aren't they, at the minute? The Toro Rosso versus the Mercedes. I don't think Scott quite expected to be having a battle with Beck 9000 tonight. But like you say, Beck 9000's giving as good as he gets at the minute, isn't he? And he's deservedly sitting in 6th place.
Yeah, it's a good race so far for Beck. He's in his starting position of 6th. Of course, you've got Sam Pito and Meg that started 1st and 2nd on the track. They've managed to hold position. But then you've got FPL Charlie, he's jumped up 1. Alex has jumped up 1. Scopefielder, he made a good start. He's up into 5th from 7th. Adra Lockdock from the back of the grid, he's up into 9th, while Speed Queen is clawing her way back. She's made up a lot of time there. And in fact, the top 12, it's not out of the question that we see someone possibly change up a strategy and maybe run onto something different and possibly do an undercut, because the field are relatively bunched at the moment, so it's not like anyone's really falling behind.
No, and if you look now, Charlie is all over the back of Meg Luppy. He's pretty much pushing him round this circuit now. He had DRS, which brought him right up to the back of the Red Bull. The Red Bull Meg Luppy's only 1.2 seconds behind Sam, so we're getting a real battle on for 1st place, as all the way down to 5th place at the minute. They are literally all in one shot on the cameras at the minute. They're pretty much nullifying each other, aren't they, though, at the minute, because they're all getting DRS and nobody's really benefited from it. Meg hanging on just, but Charlie now is sensing blood. He's like a shark in water. He's going to be coming up now to the first DRS zone. Can he get the move done on Meg? He already got the move done on Alex. He's now DRS fully open. Meg goes fully defensive. Charlie going to try it round the outside. Meg defending very, very nicely there. Oh, Charlie nearly tapped the back end of that Red Bull, but second DRS zone now available for Charlie. Can he get the move done? This time Meg going full defensive again. He's going to make Charlie go round the outside, but once again, oh, it's he's got the move done, is he? Yes. No, Meg Luppy is keeping it stuck in there, but Charlie just about gets the move done around the outside. Good move there from Charlie. He takes second place.
To steal a phrase from a famous Invictus commentator, what a move from FPL Charlie there, round the outside at turn 4. Great move and great grip. Well, these tyres, they've done 10 laps in the race, and equally they've done those 3 laps in qualifying, so these tyres are definitely coming to the end of their life. And yeah, I expect to see some of these guys diving into the pit lane, because when you're split in this group, does it make it a little bit more interesting just to maybe box a lap or two earlier than what you were going to, and just get that fresh rubber on, just get out of this battle?
Yeah, definitely. The undercut could work, as Meg Luppy is now battling to keep hold of third place, as CP Alex is all over the back of him. He's trying around the outside Charlie and Alex, and Alex gets the move done, and Scopefielder now is also sensing he can take on the Red Bull in those medium tyres, and he's going alongside, as two in a bed, as Malk would say, and Scopefielder around the outside, and Meg Luppy in the space of 2 laps, unfortunately for him, has gone from second down to fifth. So you'd assume that Meg would probably be going into pits anytime now, because I would say his tyres are pretty much done with how quickly he's suddenly fallen down the pecking order.
Yep, Beck, Humberstone and Speed Queen were the first to make stops. Speed Queen going for a 2-stop strategy, by the looks of it. She's gone from the softs onto another set. Humberstone and her swapping positions there as Beck picks up a 3 seconds, so that's going to make it hard for the Toro Rosso driver, but he's currently sitting inside the points at the moment. You've got White Fountain and Adrian locked off, of course, started on those hard tyres, so they'll be out there much longer than the rest of these guys. So it started on the softs, but it's around now that I'd start to expect to see these guys coming into the pit lane. So will we see anyone dive in this lap? It looks like we're seeing 2, so it's Charlie and Sammy the Pitto, so the leader and Charlie come into the pit lane. It's side by side for Scope and Alex into turn 1 and turn 2. Scope having to bail out of that one round turn 2, and Alex is going to lose control. Whoa. He got onto the grass, he's going to hold on to it. He just about holds on to it, but he's going to be right in the middle of the circuit. Scott completely spooked by that. Of course, coming around that corner, you don't expect to see a car in the middle of the circuit, and unfortunately for Alex, he just got those rear tyres onto the grass on the exit of turn 3. That turned the car around, and that's really unfortunate for Alex, as he was involved in a really close and decent battle there for the top 4-5 positions.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Would seeing Scopefielder having to go off track there, would that have put him off slightly and thought about trying to retake that position? Because Scopefielder looked like he went off the power briefly just to let Alex pass, but Alex, like you say, run wide, and as soon as he run wide, the car went from underneath him, did he? And he was lucky not to pick up any damage from him, but that's really unlucky for Alex. He was in a, like I say, a really good battle, but now Scopefielder takes the lead on those medium tyres. You would assume Meg Luppy, he hasn't. That is very surprising. Meg Luppy has stayed out as Scott in the Mercedes is coming in. So Meg Luppy trying to eke as much life as possible out on these soft tyres. He seems to be losing time hand over fist to Scott for a minute. So a bit surprising. I'm not sure what you think. A bit surprising there to see Meg Luppy sticking it out on those soft tyres. He's now done 13 laps on them.
Yeah, after we saw him falling back through the field, I was expecting him to be the first one in, not the last one in, and out on the soft tyres still. So he's obviously looking at trying to do a long first stint to make that second stint much shorter and much easier on the tyres towards the end of the race. And we've got Humberstone and Scott swapping positions down in towards turn 4 there. Just managed to catch the tail end of that one. So Scott, he's just come out of the pit lane on the hard tyre. So it's a run to the end now for the Mercedes driver. He's got a little bit of work to do if he's going to catch up to the guys up ahead. And he's now got to retake Humberstone, who's sort of now, of course, is on those medium tyres. And I imagine will possibly try and run to the end, but it'll be a very long way on those mediums. there might be another stint towards the tail end of this race for Humberstone. And yeah, just going back to that incident with Alex and Schofield, I think Scope, of course, just ran offline in the entry of turn 3. I think it was just Alex just trying to give him a little bit of room to come back on track. He just ran out too wide, just slightly ran out onto the grass, and that as soon as you get dirt on those rear tyres and you put that throttle pedal down and trying to get a bit of life into the rear ends, that just turn the car around, as Scott is going to try and do a quick switch with Humberstone and really try and catch the Williams driver out, and they're side by side round turn 3 and turn in towards the DRS straight, bumping wheels. Humberstone up onto the rumble strips, but they're still side by side. Humberstone tries to pull in behind Scott, so Scott deciding he was going to try and take that one by force there, really caught off Humberstone. So went one way, sent it the other at the last minute down the inside of the Williams into turn 1. Scott back up into 10th position.
Further ahead, Scopefielder, who's on those medium tyres, is pitted. He's now out on hard tyres, whereas Meg Luppy is still going and trying to eke those soft tyres out. Scopefielder came out of the pits pretty much neck and neck with Charlie. Charlie trying one round the outside and just couldn't quite get the move done. So Scopefielder back out. He's hounding MJ Coupe, who's in 5th position on those 14-lap-old medium tyres, as MJ Coupe bails out of his. Scopefielder moves up to 5th, but he's got a very fast Charlie now bugging him from behind. So Scopefielder now up to 4th, as also Meg Luppy finally does pit. He's given up with those 14-lap-old soft tyres. He's now in on the medium tyres. Can he make those last till the end? That's going to be very interesting.
I'm just saying it was a slight, maybe a bit of lack of communication between the Red Bull drivers there. I believe they almost had to double stack. So has that held MJ Coupe? Because both Red Bulls came in very quick succession there, and we know that the double stacking in this game isn't particularly reliable, but MJ Coupe may have lost a little bit of time there, which will hurt him, but he's now out on the hard tyres. Meg Luppy out on the medium tyres, trying to run to the end. He's got 20 laps to do on those yellow walled middle compound tyres. And we've got this battle now forming between Scopefielder and Charlie starting to sit around 6-7 tenths of a second behind Scopefielder, but Scope, of course, has done he's got much fresher tyres compared to Charlie. He's done 2 laps fewer. Beck 9000, 5 laps on those medium. Speed Queen, she's doing that 2-stop strategy. She's on another set of softs, so she should be lightning in this second stint and trying to catch up to these guys, as Scott and Meg swap position down in 8th and 9th position, and so Meg moving up ahead of Scott. So Scott not making up the positions that he was hoping on.
Now, Meg, I think he suffered, didn't he, staying on those soft tyres for as long as he did, because he'd fallen behind Scott, who was quite a far way behind Meg at one point in the race. So Meg getting the move done, he needed to get the move done, being on those medium tyres. He'll be hunting down Speed Queen next. She's on the second set of soft tyres, 7 laps in. So Meg now some work to do for him, because it's dropped, that long run on the softs has dropped him down quite a bit. So he'll be wanting to try and catch the likes of Beck 9000 and Charlie and Scopefield up quite quickly if possible.
Yes, Nick L.J. Thompson comes in, unfortunately not racing tonight, but he says Meg will have a lot of overtaking to do, but he's always been quick around Brazil, and yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, sitting in 8th position at the moment. But would love to know your thoughts, guys. If you're watching the stream, let us know who you think is going to take this one. We've currently got White Fountain and Andrew Lockdock leading and in second position. Of course, they started on the hard, so they're going to have the fresher and much nicer, softer tyre towards the end of the race. But you got Sammy the Pitto and Scopefielder, 2 teammates, split by 6 tenths of a second, and we've seen multi-time dual podiums for the Haas teams this season. And, of course, they were 2nd and 3rd last week. We've seen them both stand on the podium already this season a few times, so looks like at the moment they're fighting over the win.
Yes, it does. They're on pretty fresh tyres, only 3 and 5 lap old tyres. So you'd imagine, hard tyres I should say, you'd imagine they would be going to the end of the race on those now. FPL Charlie, he's not that far behind, is he? Also on the hard tyres, just 1.4 seconds. He's having a good race there. He'll be hoping to just pull that gap down slightly and be able to get DRS to get close to these Haas guys and cause them some trouble, because I imagine you would think they would fight hard, the Haas drivers, but not too hard to cause each other any issues or slow each other down. As now Schofield has got a good run going into turn one. He's going to try one around the outside of Sam. He's got the inside. Oh, that's so close. Sam slightly running wide. You'd think Schofield now has got a good run into the second DRS zone here. He should get the move done on Sam here. He's going down the inside and around the outside, I should say, and just about gets the move done. Sam not really putting too much of a fight, but Schofield runs slightly wide there and just about keeps hold of third place.
I think Sam not really wanting to give up the position there, but realising that Schofield was slightly a little bit faster there, and he did try and push him into turn 4, but realised that as soon as Schofield had that inside line for going up the hill towards turn 6, that there wasn't really much he could do about it. So now the plan for Sam will be to stay with Scope and try and hope that his teammate can pull him along. But of course they didn't want to come into contact there, but that slight battle has really brought Charlie back into play. Charlie now 0.6 of a second behind Sam, so the battle not over.
No, definitely not, and this is what the Haas guys did not want. It's good that they got the battle done early on, because they didn't want to be battling too much and really bring Charlie along. But Charlie is just having a superb race, I think, so far. He's now got under a second, so he's going to have DRS. Can Sam get any closer to Schofield? He will have DRS himself. I can't imagine he's going to be too close to get a move done, but the DRS will certainly help him defend from Charlie, who's getting hot on the tail of these Haas cars, and he's definitely going to want to be trying to upset these guys, shall we say, and try and battle for that third place.
Yep, 16 laps left, and Coop picks up a 3-second time penalty there, so that's 6 seconds for Coop. I believe Scott is sitting with 3 seconds and Beck is sitting with 3 seconds, if I can recall. That's all we've seen so far this session. But yeah, FPL Charlie sitting nicely behind the two Haas cars, and this is really where we're expecting to see Scott in this position, because of course Scott, it was a good start from him, but unfortunately hasn't quite managed to follow up with it. He's currently sitting in 8th position, and he's got Meg ahead of him on softer and much nicer rubber at the moment, so he's not going to be particularly easy to get past. Beck ahead of them is on older medium, so Beck's tyres of course will be going off. Speed Queen, she came in and made that second stop. She's now only 0.7 of a second behind MJ Coop in 12th and 11th position, so look to her to be slightly faster for this last stint of her race. She's probably looking at getting back up into the points. She's got a little bit of work to do, but Charlie, as there you go, she sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:10.7 there for her. As Charlie, as I was saying, just sitting and just ghosting in these Haas cars ahead, just possibly just not pushing as much as he needs to right now, because he can really just save a little bit of battery, sit in that drag, sit in that tow, and as Scott picks up a 3-second there, so it's really not a race to remember for Scott.
No, definitely not. He's really struggling. I think I read in the Gnosis chat he's not had much practice, if any at all, for this race. So it's starting to show that he is struggling around here now. He's tried to keep on the tail of Meg, but he's just slowly starting to fall away now. He was about 0.8 of a second, but that's crept up to 1.5 seconds now. Meg Luppy, he's not really made much of impression on Beck, as Sam has further ahead has got the move done on Schofield. I apologise if I was talking about something else. Sam getting the move done there. He'll be now going on the defensive against Schofield. Schofield now trying what he did earlier to his teammate around the outside. Sam this time a bit more wiser to it. He's staying there. He keeps hold of third place, and this time doesn't allow Schofield to steal another move on him, and he now takes third place. But that also is keeping Charlie just within touching distance of these two squabbling Haas cars.
Yeah, fantastic move there from Sam. Round the outside into turn 1, got the move done, managed to just hold off the Swede of Schofielder into turn 4, and he retakes the effective lead of the race. White Fountain, of course, currently leading with Adrian Dock in second. They do need to make a stop, but they've done 21 laps on those hard tyres, and look to see them run a little bit longer and run the softs to the end in maybe a few laps time. But you've got Samuel the Pitto leading the effective race at the moment, with Schofielder and Charlie in very close quarters. All the following two do have DRS on the leader, and Scope hitting the curb there on the inside of turn one pretty hard, so that's not going to help him in his defence against Charlie and his attack and against Sam, but DRS is enacted for Scope going down towards turn four. He's closing, not close enough. Equally the same for Charlie. He can just look at the rear end of Scopefield at the moment, and is this the case for Charlie? Is this playing tactically? Well, I say that as he really closes up to the rear end of Scopefield there, but does he just let these two Haas cars just battle out with each other and possibly just wear those tyres out a little bit and just really pounce when they make a mistake?
That would be the best strategy, wouldn't it? As we spoke about as well, Charlie is a good overtaker. He'll be assessing these guys and looking to see if there's any doors opening for him and an opportunity. Like you say, he might use this opportunity to save some battery, and then when he wants to really attack, have a good go. He's keeping really DRS of them, so he's letting the Haas guys know he's there, but just waiting for the right time, I'd say, to have a good go on him. Just further down, by the way, I was talking about Meg. He's made up a good chunk of time on Beck 9000. He's now down to 1.5 seconds behind Beck 9000 for sixth place. So you can see him just slightly ahead of Scopefielder. And Sam, I keep talking about other cars, and the battle ahead keeps happening. I think I had to stop nearly, didn't I? Scopefield and Sam once again at it again. I shall let you talk about it. I assume that's what you was watching.
Scopefielder retakes the lead into turn four, but unfortunately picked up a 3-second time penalty just prior to that. So if he is going to take this win, he's going to have to stretch out a lead over his teammate and Charlie behind. And yeah, that's worst case scenario for Scott. You don't for Scope. You don't want to be leading the race and knowing that you're not only going to lose one position but potentially two at the moment. So Scope staring down the barrel of third position when he's currently leading on track. So he's got a lot of work to do. So expect to see him pushing majorly over the next few laps to try and break that DRS gap to Sam behind. And White Fountain does come into the pit, so he's making that stop on lap 24. He's going to run to the end on the soft tyres, and Adrelokdok, I imagine, will be coming in the next lap or so. They'll be mighty fast towards the end of this race, but where do they siphon back out on track? Because White Fountain, he could be pretty racy towards the end of this one if he's out there on those softs.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm going to try and keep an eye on the battle between Scopefield and Sam, because every time I talk about somebody else, they keep to swap places, don't they? White Fountain has come out not too far behind Scott. Scott, who's, like we said, struggling tonight, isn't he? And he'll not be best pleased to be seeing a White Fountain on brand new soft tyres at 0.8 of a second. So White Fountain will be hoping to get a move done on Scott fairly quickly and try and make up several positions. Like you say, he's going to be mighty fast. You'd expect him to pick up the fastest lap at some point as well with those very fresh new soft tyres, as he is literally now all over the back of Scott. Expect a move to be done on the Mercedes driver very, very shortly.
We'll try and go on board with that as soon as we can. We're just going to keep on board here with this lead trio going down into turn one. They're coming up to the rear end of the Toro Rosso. Is that it's the current leader. It's Adrelokdok, who hasn't stopped yet, so he's out there on 25 laps. Also, this is a little bit of a possibly not quite what the two Haas cars wanted. They didn't want to have to come up to a car that will be on much older tyres and will be slow out of corners, because that's going to allow Charlie back into this fight. And I'm sure Scope will want to clear Adrelokdok as soon as possible, of course, because he's technically leading this race. He has no need to move aside and let these guys past. They have to really work for it if they're going to get past, because he's technically still leading the race. But you've got the front four, there you go, split by probably about half a second at the moment. So Scopefielder is going to exit this final corner, and probably luckily for him, this is going to be the first time he's had DRS in a few laps, so I'm sure that he'll use that to great effect. And will Adrelokdok pull to the inside and come into the pit lane this lap and put a set of those soft tyres on? No, he stays out, so he's going to have to be a bit of a rolling roadblock here, so he might get swarmed into turn one as we see both Haas cars go down the inside. Can Sam get it slowed down? He just about tries to stick with it. Adrelokdok holding on to third at the moment as White Fountain does get that fastest lap of the race, 1:10.4, but it's held up Charlie and actually locked up with DRS, and that's going to really upset Charlie going down into turn 4. Can Charlie send it down the inside? He does go for it. He's up into third, a little bit forceful between the two, but looks like it's stayed relatively clean. The top 3 break away from Adrelokdok, who should surely be coming in the next few laps.
Yeah, you'd expect so. It was pretty much a mobile chicane there, wasn't he? It just worked out wrong for Charlie, didn't it? Talking of Charlie, his teammate Scott, his race just seems to be getting from bad to worse. He's picked up another 3-second time penalty. He's now up to 9 seconds. So at the moment, he could end up slipping behind CPI Alex and maybe even Speed Queen if he's not careful. So he could just be picking up single points towards the end of the race, which would not be good for him after such a good race last week for him. So tough race for Scott. He'll be definitely wanting this to finish as soon as possible, I think.
Absolutely. So Scott's fan club surely need to give him a little bit more motivation for the next 8 laps or so to try and get the hammer down, because he's going to need it if he's going to maintain some points. And we've got this battle here between Meg Luckby and Beck, who have swapped positions going down into turn 1. Great move there from Beck, who's on older tyres. Meg on 12 laps of the mediums. He's now got White Fountain, who's going to be lightning in a bottle, and he's going to do both of them down the straight. They're 3 wide.
It's on the grass.
On the grass down. And White Fountain pushing as hard as he could. Wow. And those tyres are going to be really upset for the next few corners. Very dirty. And yeah, that was a little bit of rallycross there.
Wow, I was riding on board with White Fountain there to watch Beck and Meg fight, and suddenly Scott picks up another 3-second time penalty. Wow. But yeah, White Fountain, he went for a gap, and Scott has retired, so the race goes from bad to worse for him, unfortunately. But yeah, White Fountain, he just decided, I'm going to just go off the track and overtake you pretty much, and it looked really uncomfortable for him, but he somehow got the move done pretty much with 2 wheels on the grass as he's now going down the inside of Meg. He's looking very, very fast on those soft tyres. He gets the move done with relative ease, really, in that Renault, and now he'll be looking to try and catch up with, well, Adrelokdok, who's still yet to come in. So at the moment, if White Fountain can keep this up, could he potentially catch up to the likes of Charlie? Maybe no, he may be just out of reach, but it's a top 4 finish for White Fountain. It'll be fantastic for him. Unfortunately for Beck 9000, he started off the race well. He's just coming to picked up a 5-second stop-go penalty. So fortunately for Beck 9000, he's now languishing down in 11th place.
Yeah, Beck unfortunately just lost control of the Toro Rosso on the exit of turn 10, caught on board of it just as he started sliding across the infield. And as that happened, Scopefielder and Sammy the Pito swap position, so Sam back up into the lead of the race with 7 laps left to go. Scott, the first retirement from the race, and definitely one to forget for him, and he's down out of the points, and it's going to be possibly a new leader in the points championship with GP1 or CPI Alex, sorry, not GP1 Alex, that's formerly known as, down in 7th position. He could take the lead in the championship. We've got Adrelokdok finally stops on lap 30. So it's going to be a very short stint to end the race for Adrelokdok, who probably stops just a few laps too late, although he will be particularly racy over the last few laps, but he's probably aiming towards maybe a 5th place finish or a 6th place finish with the 2 Ferraris to overtake ahead. But it's still this battle at the head between Sam the Pito, Scopefielder and Charlie that we've got our eyes on, but 6 laps left to go. Let's not count out White Fountain.
No, definitely not. He was 6.8 seconds behind Charlie at the start of this lap. It's already down to 5.7 seconds, so he's looking very, very fast on those soft tyres. Can he get catching up to the back of Charlie with 6 laps to go and challenge for that podium place? It'd be a mega race from White Fountain if he can. He's crawling down to 5 seconds. And is that spots of rain I'm seeing on the
Yeah,
camera?
it is indeed. It's a little bit of a trickle of rain coming down across the Interlagos circuit, and that's going to spice up towards the end of this race, because if that starts to gain an intensity over the next 5 laps, these guys that are out there on worn tyres are going to really start to feel the effects of it. So this could play into White Fountain's hands pretty nicely, because those that fresh rubber, although the soft tyres work the least favourably in the wet, they will have a lot more grip and a lot more surface temperature to maintain than these guys that are much more worn tyres. So this has really made this end of the race a lot more interesting than I say that as we've got a fantastic three-way battle for first, but it's a lot more exciting than what we first thought.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to agree with what Mike said in the comments there. Maybe Adrian thought the rain might have come soon and he was maybe holding out for possible rain tyres. As Adrian makes a nice move up on the inside of CPI Alex there. He's jumped up to 7th place on those soft tyres. He'll be targeted Speed Queen next, who's on 12 lap or medium tyres. You can't imagine Adrian on those super fast tyres will be stuck behind that fry for much longer. White Fountain is getting, his Agilot is trying the move done before the DRS zone, and he does get the move done before the DRS zone, and he gets ahead of Speed Queen, and now Agilot is up to 6th place. But did he get the move done too soon? Because Speed Queen now has DRS on Agilot, and Speed Queen gets past Agilot, going down into Tier 1 as Agilot tries to keep it on the inside, trying it around, and he just gets the move back done again. There's a good old battle there between Aglock, Speed Queen, and now CPI Alex, who's also got DRS on his teammate, and he's now trying one down the inside on his hard tyres. Just about, nearly. Speed Queen just keeps ahead of her teammate. So yeah, good old little battle there for 6th, 7th, and 8th.
It's all change up the front. Schofield are now leading with FPL Charlie into 2nd position. Sam starting to struggle on this slightly greasy surface, and you can see the gap is now growing between the three. So Schofield, of course, is sitting on that penalty, but he's starting to eke out that gap ahead of Sam. And Sam and Charlie went side by side into turn 4. There was a little bit of contact, but a relatively clean overtake, and it looked like Sam was just not willing to give up equally. We know Charlie and Sam have had their differences so far this season, so they weren't going to give any quarter in battle. And we've got this fantastic battle going on between CPI Alex and Speed Queen, as you were talking about. As we've alluded to previously, these two Ferraris, they're so evenly matched. They always seem to be next to each other in the race, and Alex trying to do all he can, gets around the outside of Speed Queen into turn 1, swinging side to side, couldn't give a way to block, and she manages to hold onto the racing line, but Alex sweeps around the outside up into 7th position. 3 laps left to go. The rain is starting to come down a lot heavier.
It is, and White Fountain has Sam firmly in his sights now. 1.3 seconds. He's gonna really be within touching distance now of Sam. Sorry, I lost my words for a second. He's going to be in touching distance of Sam. He's got it under a second now. I don't know if he will have got it under a second just before the DRS zone. He does get it under the DRS zone. Sam, who's not got DRS on Charlie ahead, so Sam is going to be on some immense pressure shortly from a very fast Renault behind him. But can this rain cause some trouble for the guys ahead? Charlie 2.3 seconds behind now. White Fountain, he's 0.5 of a second. He's probably not going to get the move done. No, he doesn't get the move done quite now, but he's got his sights not only on Sam, but he can also see from the onboard footage, he can also see Charlie. So potential 2nd place on for White Fountain here.
White Fountain all over the rear end of Sammy the Pito now into the 2nd sector, and looking much more racy compared to the Spaniard ahead, who's had such a magnificent race up to now, and it looks like those tyres are just starting to fall away for him, and he's starting to really be troubled by the Renault behind. And White Fountain seems to have played this strategy almost to perfection, and the rain looks like it's going to just about hold off enough so that these guys can stay out there on the dry tyres. I don't think anyone's going to risk coming in for intermediates at the moment. So White Fountain now, he's you can see he's primed and ready to make that overtake, switching at the last second with Sam moving over to defend. But White Fountain is past. He's up into the podium positions. It's third position for White Fountain. And now Charlie's not that far ahead. This rain coming down heavier, it's going to start making this track a lot more difficult for these guys.
Yeah, definitely. White Fountain, I don't know if I'm not aware he's picked up any penalties. If he hasn't and gets within 3 seconds of Schofield, the win is on for White Fountain. Like you say, he looks like he's called the strategy to perfection here. Charlie now under massive pressure, and you'd imagine towards the end of this lap, White Fountain will be getting the move done as Sam just behind has just gone completely off the track there, and he's picked up a 3-second time penalty for doing that. So it's just gone from bad to worse for Sam. And can we see Sam not on the podium tonight? That would be quite the shock, wouldn't it, to see Sam not on the podium? We've seen him on the podium so consistently so far, and he's now starting to fall away ever so much now, as White Fountain now 0.3 of a second. Can he get the move done on Charlie in the first DRS zone?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to happen. Charlie blocking to the outside. White Fountain moves to the inside. Charlie's going to try and come across and squeeze in, but there's not enough room. White Fountain up into second position. Charlie surely won't have enough grip in those tyres to send it back the inside, and he doesn't. So White Fountain up into second position. We're on the final lap of the race. Oakfielder has got a 3-second time penalty. That time is going to come down. So White Fountain is going to be, at the moment, barring an absolute disaster in this last lap, is going to take a really unlikely victory from what we saw earlier in the race. Started outside of the top 10 on the hard tyres. He's gone to the softs at the end as Adrilokdok picks up 3 seconds on the last lap. And we've got a yellow in sector 3 now, so possibly an issue for him if he picked up
MJ Coupe.
Oh, it's MJ Coupe down in 11th position. But we're coming up to the final few corners of the race. That gap is now only 2.2 of a second. It looks like it's going to be all in vain for Schofield, who tried so hard, started on the mediums, went to the hard tyres, tried that differing strategy, and he's done so well to get up into the lead of the race, swap positions with his teammates over and over again. Scopefielder is going to come across the line. He's not going to know that he's not going to take the race victory tonight, but he crosses the line. The race win. White Fountain is promoted up to the win. Sammy the Pitto and Charlie, I missed that one, but it looked like, what happened there? They swapped positions.
Sam overtook Charlie on the finish line, and if Sam didn't have that 3-second penalty, he would have nicked third place off of Charlie. It was literally across the finish line. I would love to have seen that again. It was literally neck and neck, and just got ahead of Charlie. But unfortunately for Sam, that 3-second time penalty, what he picked up just shortly when he ran really wide, has pretty much robbed him of that third place there. That was a superb comeback from Sam, and Charlie just about holds on to that third place.
Adrilokdok and Meg Lugby equally come across the line side by side, and so do Humberstone and Speed Queen. So we had 3 side-by-side battles coming into the final lap and across the line. Unfortunately, it looks like penalties had already decided the results, but what a win for White Fountain. That's his second, and finally we've got a multi-time race winner this season. That's our first, of course, 5 races so far. He's now won in Monaco and in Brazil, 2 iconic circuits on the F1 Canada. So White Fountain deserves a massive round of applause from you all for a fantastic race tonight. I'm sure Scopefielder will be pretty gutted with that one, because he drove a pretty decent race tonight, and equally it's finally a podium for Charlie, and Charlie will be I'm sure pretty happy to be back into a position where he can be challenging towards the front. But there you go, White Fountain from 11th to the win in 43 seconds. 43 seconds? That would be a quick race. 43 minutes and 52 seconds. Scopefielder in second position with Charlie in third. Sammy the Pitto unfortunately gets Charlie on the line, but loses out on that late penalty. Meglugby in 5th, with Adju Lockdock up into 6th, of course, started 12th. CPI Alex and Speed Queen in 7th and 8th. Humbo Stone in 9th. Beck 9000 picks up the final point in 10th, with MJ Coop finishing outside of the top 10. And unfortunately, we lost Scott, boy better know, earlier in the race after a few penalties and not a great race for him in the Mercedes. But it's another absolutely banging race from these guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen White Fountain was fast, but 43 seconds, wow, that is super fast. But White Fountain from P11, he has to be the driver of the day, doesn't he? He got the strategy absolutely bang on, and unfortunately for Schofield, if he had to pick that 3 second time penalty up, he would have been tonight's race winner. But yes, another great race, wasn't it? Charlie, I think, pretty much deserves that podium place tonight. He's been unlucky throughout this season, and finally getting a race under his belt that he pretty much deserves.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic race there from the entire grid. We saw a fantastic battle across the race. We saw many overtakes and tricky conditions to end the race in. Of course, that track getting greasier and greasier as the rain came down. But yeah, a well-deserved win from White Fountain. We really weren't expecting it at all when he started on those hard tyres, and didn't really look to be making too many moves early in the race, and but yeah, just kept it clean, and that shows what you can do here. And I'm sure plenty of drivers watching tonight will taking a few tips into their racing for the rest of the week. And of course, racing the rest of the week here in Invictus means Tuesday nights, the Realistic Performance League. So tomorrow night, Malk and Tim will be commentating on that one around Interlagos. And then on Wednesday night, F1, F2 and F3 of the Equal Performance League. So equally 3 leagues for you on Wednesday night to watch. So make sure you check in with all of those guys. You've got Tim doing F1, you've got Dan doing F2, and you've got Malk doing F3. And then, of course, on Thursday, you've got myself and Sab doing the Invictus podcast. Or you can check in with the GT Sport League, which Never Miss or Alex will be commentating on as the guys slowly join us. And we'll be running the interview questions via them. And Sab, would you like to start with the winner?
Yes, good evening, White Fountain. It was a superb race for yourself. Starting down in P11, going for that long strategy on the hard tyre. It looked like you picked the best strategy tonight. How was the race for yourself?
What a fun race. Didn't expect to win after horrendous qualifying. And, well, I didn't really know what strategy to go on, start on the hards or start on the mediums, even on the softs. So I didn't really know what the strategy was. But I started off very cautious not to get wing damage because I needed to make my stint last as long as possible. And well, in the end, the rain came in handy. On the soft tires, I knew I had the upper hand on Scope, Samu, and Charlie, but I didn't know Scope had a time penalty, so it was a surprise for me to win.
Yeah, I can imagine. And yeah, you as soon as you were catching up to the back of those cars on those soft tyres, it looked pretty easy for you to get the move done. Did you find it pretty easy, even with those tricky wet conditions towards the end of the race?
Yeah, I felt I had much better traction out of the corner, so it was just waiting for the straight and not making any stupid moves into the second sector, because it's tricky to make a move there and to go on the grass or to make a collision. So I was just being patient and well, hoping they wouldn't fight back too much.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. It was a superb race for yourself. Schofield, commiserations, I'd say, because you look like you got the perfect strategy at one point, starting on those medium tyres, and unfortunately, a penalty eventually cost you. How was the race for you apart from that incident which picked up your 3 second time penalty?
I think I had great pace today. Really happy with the pace. I think I was on the wrong strategy in the end because I got in a lot of traffic because of starting on the mediums. I was hoping that the rain would come earlier, and that's why I qualified on the mediums. But it came just in the end, so it was kind of useless to start on the mediums because then I pitted anyway, like 2 laps after the other guys. So I think it cost me the win because if I qualified on super soft, I think I would have run away with it pretty early. Now I couldn't get out of Samu's DRS, so it took like 32 laps until I got past and out of it. So and then it was too late. So disappointing in that strategy, but nothing you can do. White Fountain did a great race, so the third win for him.
Yeah, it was a good battle as well between you and Sam. There was plenty of toing and throwing between yourselves. Did you ever have a strategy of not battling too hard, especially with a fast Mercedes not far behind you?
I mean, I had that 3-second penalty, so I kind of couldn't just wait behind Samu.
Yeah.
And I also had, I think I had a significant pace advantage against him and also Charlie. So I kind of need to get past and get out of the DRS if I wanted a chance to win that race. Otherwise, I would have just dropped out of the podium. And
Yeah.
I'm driving to win, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, even though it feels like you've lost a win, it's second place is still good and still a good point. So, good race from yourself, Charlie. On to you, if I may. You've had a tough season so far. I could sense some frustration from yourself in chats, but I think a race tonight you deserve, and getting a podium, I think. Fully deserved in the end. You've been racing well this season, pulled off some good moves. It's just been quite unlucky up till now, but a good race for yourself.
Yeah, I've been trying a bit too hard this season. I've done some good moves, but I've overcooked it a couple of times. But tonight I just tried keeping it clean, to be honest. I thought all along Scope was faster than me, but I thought all along through just gauging from him on the first stint and the second stint that I had the pace to get Sam, so I was just waiting for an opportunity. And I couldn't really do much about Fountain at the end. He was just on the softs, and as it was getting greasy, he just had way too much grip, so there was no point fighting him.
Yeah. Do you have anything there to ask, Gareth, just before we finish off?
Yeah, just to Charlie, looked like there was a nice side by side across the line there for third place. How were you feeling with Sam on your tail as you came up to the final corner?
To be honest, I didn't know he had a penalty, so I was a bit pissed off because I overheated my tyres in the hairpin in sector 2. I did a slide into it, overheating my tyres, and I couldn't get a good exit off the last corner. And I could just see him gaining and gaining and gaining. I thought, oh, all I can do is position my car, and then if he gets past, he gets past. But luckily, I had a penalty, so
yeah. Well, yeah.
pays
Congratulations.
off just keeping my race clean for once.
Yeah, I know exactly. It was good to see. It's great to see you on the podium finally, and
I was able to pull off a couple of good moves as well.
oh, we caught them. Don't worry.
Sam and Meg.
So yeah, and with Scott unfortunately retiring from this one, so it's at least picking up some points for Mercedes tonight. But yeah, just finally to White Fountain, we're coming to the end of the first half of the season. We've got Belgium up next. Looking forward to your home race?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Belgium. It's been an inconsistent season for me so far, so I hope my second half will be a bit more consistent. And I don't know what the standings look like. I don't know who's leading the standings, but it seems very close. Everyone seems very close to each other, so it's going to be an interesting end to the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a real cracker by the looks of it, because with these added 4 points for the racing line, the Tier 1 Championship is looking pretty tasty at the moment. So yeah, the standings will be updated hopefully later tonight, if not tomorrow morning. But yeah, congratulations to all the top three. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Feel free to leave us. We'll be wrapping up the stream right now. But yeah, congratulations to you all. Fantastic race. Really enjoyed that one. So make sure you check it back on twitch.tv or on YouTube. And Sab, just finishing up. It was another really decent race night. We saw some fantastic moves from these guys. It was that's what we expect from this lot, isn't it? It's just so much fun watching them.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's absolutely a pleasure to watch and commentate on these guys. They always seem to produce fantastic races for us. Charlie once again pulling off some fantastic moves this season. He's probably the one to watch for overtakes in this league this season. He's pulled off some great moves. It's good to see him trying to pick up that podium. But overall, like you say, the battle for first place was great to watch. It was really close battling throughout, especially between Schofield and Sam. You didn't really know which way it was going, but then ultimately penalties kind of ruined the race, so to speak, and cost Schofield the win. But hat off to White Fountain. He was absolutely superb, and when that rain did come down, it just gave him that bit extra just to get the moves get the moves done that he needed to do and steal first place off Schofield. But yeah, another fun race to watch, definitely.
Yeah, plenty of overtaking. So if you want to watch a fun race, make sure you check this one back on YouTube. It'll be uploaded later tonight and will be available tomorrow morning. And yeah, it's going to be the start of what hopefully will be a fun week of racing. Like I've said, Realistic Performance League tomorrow night with Tim and Malk. Wednesday night is the Equal Performance League, F1, F2 and F3. So 3 leagues on a Wednesday night with Tim, Dan and Malk commentating on their respective leagues. And of course on Thursday you can join Sab and I for the Invictus podcast here on twitch.tv on this channel. So make sure if you want to listen into that, you click on the follow button to be notified when we go live. If you can't join us live for that one, feel free to listen back on SoundCloud, Podbean, Spotify and now iTunes. So just check and search for the Invictus Racing League podcast and you should be able to subscribe to that and hear our thoughts on F1 as we go through the summer break and then equally the rest of the season. But for tonight, thanks very much for joining us. It's been a fantastic race once again here on the No Assist Championship on Monday nights, 8 p.m. on twitch.tv. Join us next Monday for the another that's 3 in a row. We're going to have iconic circuits and it's Spa-Francorchamps, the blast through the Ardennes forest in Belgium. And that's going to be an absolute barnstorm of a race as we end the first half of the season. And where has the time gone? 6 rounds done after that one. And so it will be a fantastic end to the first half of the season. But for tonight and this week, thank you very much for joining us here for the No Assist League. We will see you tomorrow night for the Realistic Performance League where Sab will be racing. And then on Wednesday night, where I will be racing, and then of course Thursday nights for the podcast or the GT Sport League, if you'd like to watch some GT Sport. And then equally, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, it is GT2_driving for myself, at Alan Sabatino for Sab, and at Invictus RL on Twitter and Instagram. Invictus Racing League on Facebook and InvictusRacingLeague.com if you want to get yourself on the grid for the second half of the season in both the F1 2019 leagues and GT Sport. But for tonight, thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next Monday in Spa.